HP Lovecraft was an American horror writer who died at the young age of 46 in 1937. Even though his readership was limited during his lifetime, to this day he's regarded as one of the most influential horror and science fiction writers. There's one thing I have in common with Lovecraft, it's his love of weird locations in Massachusetts, particularly Essex County. Other videos I've made featured locations that HP Lovecraft once visited. Some were even said to serve as inspiration for his stories. With HP's work, it's tough to figure out where the actual inspiration came from. Most Lovecraft historians are left to make assumptions. That is, in some cases, there is a great deal that became known from letters written by Lovecraft during his lifetime. Born in Providence, Rhode Island, he first used a New England setting for the 1921 short story, The Terrible Old Man. Lovecraft's work would continue using these kinds of settings, combining real and fictitious locations throughout New England. I just want to take a look at some of the places that I've been to that have also been visited by HP Lovecraft. But first, let's run down the list of some of the real locations referenced in Lovecraft's work. There's Newburyport, Ipswich, Danvers, and Salem, Massachusetts, all in Essex County. For fictional locations, there's places like Dunwich, Innsmouth, Kingsport, and of course Arkham. Even the fictional locations in what is known as Lovecraft Country are said to be based on real places throughout New England. Take Kingsport, for example. The town first appeared in Lovecraft's short story, The Terrible Old Man, from 1921. It was based on the real-life town of Marblehead, Massachusetts. It also shares the distinction of being the first New England location used for inspiration in a Lovecraft story. There are actual destinations you can visit where H.P. Lovecraft has been. The locations he's said to have visited are usually on the stranger side, and some even controversial. So even if you're not a fan of H.P. Lovecraft or you just never heard of him, you still might be interested in checking these places out this summer. First up, Hammond Castle. I visited this place 2 times last year and made a video about its history. It's located on the coast of Gloucester, Massachusetts, a city which Lovecraft mentions in his work. The castle was completed in 1929 and designed by its owner, John Hammond Jr., a wealthy and eccentric inventor with an interest in the macabre. A rumor has circulated that after his father's death in 1936, John Hammond kept his father's corpse in his basement and attempted to reanimate it. Interestingly enough, H.P. Lovecraft wrote a story about a mad scientist just north of Salem, Massachusetts, who also tried to raise the dead. There was also a horror movie made in 1985 called Reanimator, based on the original story, which, much like H.P. Lovecraft's own work, over the years it too has earned itself a cult following. But did Lovecraft's visit to Hammond Castle have anything to do with the story he wrote? In this case, no. Herbert West's Reanimator was published in the pages of Weird Tales starting in 1921, about 8 years before Hammond Castle was built. Up next is America's Stonehenge. This one is actually just outside of Massachusetts in Salem, New Hampshire. Not only did H.P. Lovecraft visit this place, some people believed it served as inspiration for the story, The Dunwich Horror. America's Stonehenge was once known as Mystery Hill. It contains man-made stone chambers which were created in a labyrinth of astronomical alignment. A stone table sits atop the hill in the center of the site. Explanations of this stone range from a sacrificial table to a fruit extractor. But it's this table that draws comparisons to the one described in the pages of the Dunwich Horror, atop the site known as Sentinel Hill. Lovecraft writes about the sizable table-like rock on Sentinel Hill and also describes a sinister, altar-like stone on the summit. However, most scholars place the famed writer's visit as being too late to have inspired the Dunwich Horror. The timeline is too shaky because no one knows exactly what year he visited the site, only that it must have been sometime between 1928 and the 1930s. With the Dunwich Horror coming out in 1929, it's a tough call. The last place I want to talk about is Danvers State Hospital. It's been long believed that it was the inspiration for Arkham Sanitarium, used in many of Lovecraft's stories. If this were true, it would also connect Danvers State Hospital to the Batman universe. Arkham Asylum was created by Dennis O'Neil and first appeared in the pages of Batman, issue number 258, in October of 1974. The asylum's creation was inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's fictional city of Arkham, Massachusetts. So Danvers State Hospital and a second degree of separation may have inspired Batman's Arkham Asylum. But is it true? HP Lovecraft was definitely aware of Danvers State. He mentioned it by name in 2 of his stories, Pickman's Model and also The Shadow over Innsmouth. Lovecraft then created his own asylum, Arkham Sanitarium, which appears in the short story The Thing on the Doorstep. It may not be that far off to assume Danvers State and other hospitals like it served for the initial inspiration for Arkham Sanitarium. It's likely the design of H.P. Lovecraft's asylum was based on the Kirkbride mental hospitals, known for their Gothic-like structures. Massachusetts had 4 of these hospitals, one of them of course being Danvers State. We just don't know for sure if Lovecraft had this in mind when creating the one in Arkham. As for Arkham Asylum's first appearance in the Batman comics, it's interesting to note that it too started as a hospital in New England. It was first used in an issue featuring Two-Face, a villain from Batman's famed Rogues Gallery. So that covers the H.P. Lovecraft locations that I've been to and made videos about, which you can check out on my channel. Each one has their own interesting history other than the fact that a famed horror writer was once there, and I would definitely suggest checking them out. As for H.P. Lovecraft, his influence lives on in other artists and writers he's inspired, like film director John Carpenter, who wrote and directed the original Halloween, and of course Stephen King, who lists Lovecraft as the single largest figure to influence his fiction writing. Even if the location wasn't in one of his horrifying tales, H.P. Lovecraft enjoyed visiting unusual places that are available for anyone to visit. Locations that will live on in his writing for the next generation of fans who are looking to find Lovecraft Country.